All right. So it is, in this case, week 7 that I'm releasing. It is actually week 6, I believe, in the RL. In this case, yeah, week 6. That shows you your current. If you've ever used the calendar in Canvas, which, by the way, I highly recommend, I think it's very helpful. But what you can see here is here's week 7, and then what I want to talk about just for a minute, because I've gone over in the previous videos kind of the progression of what we're going to take. That in week 8, then I talked about we'll have 2 projects, no code alongs for week 8. So this is actually the last week that we will have a code along in week 7. But the reason I'm here actually is to give you an update to make sure we're all on the same page, so to speak, about how the semester ends. So when we get to this last week, in this case it's the finals week for the regular semester, it's also the finals week for this class, even though it's a short-term class. What you're going to have is you're going to have first a different due date for the last item and a different due time for the last item. And so as your reply, I want to make sure you understand what those are and then ask any questions that you may have about them. Okay? But I put them on attendance so you have them as well. So some of you understand late grading, but if you haven't had a need to use it, great. But if at this point, if you've missed something, which in general, most students, if they've missed something, generally have to complete it because it is sequential in the way that I've set it up, right? But if you're going to do late work, you have to ask me to grade, you have to have completed it and ask me to grade it no later than 5/15. So if we look at the calendar, right, that's the 15th of May. I know we're in April, May, but just so you kind of understand this as we get closer, right? So if you're going to ask, you have to complete it and ask me to grade it. The project itself, which is a discussion, which I think I end up having you add, I think, one thing into your site. And this would be not only your posting of your project, but also your replies need to be done by noon on that 15th. Again, on the 15th, okay? So these are important dates. And I just want you to know them, ask any questions about them. You may not have any because we're, of course, before the due date, but I just want you to have them in your mind as we work towards this. And because once that noon on the 15th is over, whatever has been submitted at that point, I've graded, and there's no more work to be done. Okay, and I know the end of semester can get really hard, especially if you're running to catch up, but just understand, work towards those dates, and that communications is key. But I'm very firm on those dates because to me it's like everyone should be given the opportunity to finish and understand what the due dates are. So right now is the time to ask me. Okay, so in this week, I know last week I mentioned about DevTools, and I actually found this video, so I included it here as well. So the thing we're going to do this week, and I just recorded the video for the part 2, which is beginning our styling, and I realized in that video I just went over, like, I showed you my output. I don't show you my CSS, honestly, because that's like, it's just, I don't do that because it's just so natural to think you want to do it like that. And that's not what learning to write CSS is about. But I showed you my output rendered in the page. But I also want you to know that this part of the process, depending on your skill level, like if you've had some CSS, which some of you have had clearly by looking at your work, and some of you are this is like your first time of looking at CSS, it's not going to look the way you probably have envisioned in your mind. And it's not going to look at the way when you look at sites that may inspire you, that they're going to look like that as well. Because this process, right, is really saying how well are you translating the things that you're learning in this class. And you know, I know when I did this, when I actually put some finishing touches on mine today from stuff, because I had done this last semester, but I realized there were some things I wanted to do for this semester as well. And, you know, so what's important is that you style this, and I talk about this in that video, that you document it. You have your commits in there that show me your process and progress. Okay. I don't specify how many commits, right? But generally, I will look, you know, I will just look at your entire site. You definitely would want several. I would say more than 10. Okay. And again, I don't specify that, but I know that without some kind of guidelines, students may look at that requirement I have and just kind of, it's vague enough that it would cause some confusion. And that's not the goal. The goal is for you to actually apply what you've learned. Okay. And document it through documentation, comments in your CSS, and commits. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to say for this one. I've already told you what I want in the reply, but if you have any other questions, totally ask me as well. All right, have a good one, and I'll talk to you later.